Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Day 23 of the Chad Daybell case. Oh my God. Is anybody else starting to feel like this is getting very repetitive? The testimony, if you're watching this trial live, let me know what you think. To me, I feel like we're hearing the same things over and over again. But yeah, 23 days. The state has not rested yet. Oh my God. And I don't think it's not going to happen today either. Anyway, so Chad Daybell is charged with the murder of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, the children of his current wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, who is serving life sentences without the possibility of parole for those murders. In addition, they were both charged with the murder of Tammy Daybell, his wife at the time that he met Lori Daybell. Now, they were also charged with conspiracy. So he is facing the death penalty. Yes, this trial is not over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm gonna make a career out of this trial. So yesterday, testimony started out with Dr. Lily Marsden. She is the deputy chief medical examiner for the state of Utah. At the time of Tammy Daybell's exhumation, her body was exhumed. She was a fellow, meaning just she's already done she said she'd already done like 500 autopsies. During a residency, an internship, she was in a hospital setting and she was doing hospital autopsies, which means that, usually there's a medical explanation. There's a doctor attending the person, the person had cancer, it's a premature newborn, whatever it is. So not a lot of investigative forensic things going on there. So she got a fellowship at the Utah Medical Examiner's Office, and she was the actual person that did the autopsy of Tammy Daybell after her body was exhumed. Now, she was present for the exhumation and accompanied the body to the medical examiner's office. So we heard testimony prior from the medical examiner who was present during the autopsy. And we heard all of this stuff before, but now we're going to hear it from the person that was performing the autopsy. Now, she did it with him standing there, consulting. Anyway, so the significant finding that they found was pulmonary edema. And she goes through the whole thing. I do the external exam first and then the internal, and, we've heard all this. So she talks about how there was nothing during the external or internal examination to explain the cause of death. She's got this pulmonary edema. What caused it? So she had urine that they were able to send out, some eye fluid, and portions of the bone that they were able to send, the liver, not the bone, for toxicology, because there's no blood left because she had been embalmed. So the toxicology also did not shed any light on her cause of death. It came back with fluoxetine, which is Paxil, and at a therapeutic level, nothing toxic about it. So then they had a neuropathologist examine the brain, nothing to explain. They did this because Chad had described some seizure-like activity, and they didn't find anything in the brain. No. So that was seizures. Cause of death, seizures, very unlikely. Then the cardiac, she said, her heart was structurally normal. There was no evidence that she would have had an arrhythmia, and it would be highly unlikely that there was a cardiac event here. So she said asphyxia, which is lack of oxygen to the brain, is a diagnosis of exclusion. So you have to exclude everything else. And they did. They excluded everything else, and they came up with asphyxia. And they talked about how that could have happened. And she said, likely smothered. Yep. Someone holding her down and smothered. Yep. Sad. That's a terrible way to go. Any case, the next person was investigator Rick Wright. Now, when they called the next witness, the wrong witness walks in. Ray Hermosillo, one of the other detectives, walks in, and the defense attorney, he's like, unless Rick's been working out, I don't think that's him. So the prosecution's like, oh, I think there's been a mix-up. So I think Hermosillo's on the stand today. Again. So we heard from Rick Wright. He's a special agent with the FBI, and he gets involved when there are juveniles that are missing because he explained, if there's a kidnapping, and sometimes there is by one parent or another, you don't know, and they cross the state line, then it becomes a federal matter. But they don't know that lines have been crossed until it's too late. So they get involved. They try to get involved early, and they did in this case. So he's going to talk about cell phone data points for Alex Cox's phones. Now, we heard a bunch of that yesterday, too. Well, we're going to hear some more. Oh, my word. Okay. So on September 1st, now, this is not Alex Cox. This is Alex Cox's device. Alex Cox's device moved to Idaho on September 1st. He moves into the apartment complex called Rock Creek Townhomes, and he goes to Unit 175. Now, Lori had rented 175 and 107. Eventually, he moves into 107. September 5th, he moves into 107, which is his apartment. On September 8th, they go to Yellowstone. He goes, and we know this because there were pictures of the vehicle entering Yellowstone. And in the vehicle were Lori, Alex, and the two kids, Tylee and JJ. They didn't get a picture of them exiting because all they could catch was the license plate. But we know from computer searches and phone searches that there were pictures of the four of them at Yellowstone that day. So I would think it's safe to say the phone was with Alex that day. So on September 8th at 11:52, just before noon, they leave to go to Yellowstone, and they stop at the gas station. Then they proceed to Yellowstone. They arrive at the west entrance to Yellowstone at 1:29, 1:30. So they must not be far, like an hour and a half drive. How cool. Then at 2:30, they're at Old Faithful. Then from 3:04 to 3:22, they're at the Old Faithful Lodge. Well, the phone is at the Old Faithful Lodge. At 3:42 to 4:04, they're at the rim of the geyser. Now, had it been their plan to push these children into the geyser, there would have been nothing left of them, because that geyser's ridiculously hot, but that's apparently was not the plan. Then at 4:15, from 4:15 to 4:27, so 12 minutes, they're in the Old Faithful parking lot, getting ready to go home. And then at 6:40, they leave the park. And between 6:45 and 7:02, they're at the Buckaroo Barbecue in a little town called West Yellowstone. Yep. Okay. So that is the last known sighting of Tylee Ryan, those pictures. Then we go to that night, September 8th, that night. From 8:37 to 9:35 p.m., Alex's phone is at Lori's apartment. From 9:43 to 9:53, 10 minutes, his phone is at the Maverick gas station. Then he returns to Lori's house at 22:44, and he leaves at 23:15. And at 23:45, the cell phone data picks him up at his apartment 107. So his apartment is directly across from Lori's, 80 meters apart. 80 meters. So it wouldn't take that long to walk across. But here's the thing: when you look historically at Alex's cell phone, he's at Lori's a lot, but never during the night. He always goes back to his apartment, and from late at night till early in the morning, he's at his apartment 107. Well, this night was a little bit different. At 2:42 a.m., he's at Lori's place in the middle of the night. And then he's there till 3:47. Just over an hour. What happened in that hour? Then he returns to his place. He goes back to 107. Then at 9 o'clock the next morning, he leaves Rexburg and he's headed over to Chad Daybell's house. And he arrives there at 9:15. Now at 9:21, the data point picks him up behind the main residence. At 9:22, he's on the northwest corner of the near gate. There's a rear gate. There's a gate that you can actually drive through onto the property. At 10:39, again, it picks him up behind the residence. At 10:51, again, behind the residence. So he's spending a lot of time behind their residence that day. At 11:45, he leaves the area. Now, if you compare this to what we heard about the text, the raccoon text that Chad sends to his wife, Tammy, about having to shoot this raccoon, and that was sent at 11:53 a.m., right after Alex leaves the property. Chad is texting Tammy, "Oh, I ran into a raccoon, blah, blah, blah." Yeah. So on cross-examination, John Pryor asked him, "Did you guys find a raccoon?" And he goes, "Well, we had an anthropologist with us when we were digging up the bodies, recovering the bodies, and we did find small animals. Could have been a cat, could have been a dog." So this anthropologist was actually telling them, "No, that's not a human bone. This is but it's anybody's guess as to what it was. It could have been a small cat, or it could have been a large cat, small dog. We don't know. Could have been a raccoon. We don't know. We don't know. But there were animal remains found in the pet cemetery. Okay. So now we're going to talk about September 23rd, the day after the last known sighting of JJ Vallow. He was absent from school that day. He's usually never absent. He was absent from school that day. 16:26 to 9:41, Alex is going back and forth between 107 and 175, his apartment and Lori's apartment, back and forth. Now, that's the night that Melanie Gibb and David Warwick are at Melanie's apartment, and they're doing this podcast. So that night, just after midnight, September 23rd, Alex is at his apartment all night. He's in 107 till the next morning, 9:41. So 9:41, he's traveling to Chad Daybell's residence, arriving at 9:55. Then from 9:55 to 10:12, he's at the Daybell property. 9:56, the cell phone is pinging out by the pond near where JJ's remains were found. 10:52, he's by the pond. 10:05, he's by the front door of Chad Daybell's house. Now, this investigator pointed out the only person that he knows in this area where the cell phone is pinging is Chad Daybell. He doesn't know anybody else there. And he also looked at historically how many times would Alex go to visit Chad Daybell. Not very often. 3-4 times. Once was on September 9th. Once was on September 23rd. Another time was October 8th, 9th, when there was attempted shooting of Tammy. Another one was October 18th. Significant dates, right? Yeah. Anyway, other than that, he doesn't go to see Chad. No. At 10:07, he's at the front of Chad's house. And at 10:22, he returns to Lori's house in Rexburg. Yeah. So this investigator talked about when they had a search warrant at one point, and they were searching Tylee's Jeep. This was in January of 2020, in conjunction with the attempted shooting of Brian Boudreaux. And they found some receipts in that car, or in the Jeep. And one of the receipts was for food, October 18th in Idaho. So on October 18th, Alex was in Idaho. Or that Jeep was in Idaho. Oh, and then another of the receipts that was found was for food in Arizona on the day of the Brian Boudreaux attempted shooting. So that puts that Jeep in Arizona. Then there was on October 9th, the day of the attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell, Alex's phone is pinging in the area of Sportsman's Paradise between a certain time frame. So this investigator goes to Sportsman's Paradise and has them pull all the receipts between that time frame. 60 receipts he's got to go through. So he ruled out all the Visa, MasterCard stuff and found a cash receipt for 5 items. And it happened to be the time on this receipt fit perfectly within that time frame. And what was purchased was camo pants, ski mask, gloves, and a Dr. Pepper. There was one other thing. I don't remember what it was. But all of these things the person had on that attempted to shoot Tammy that night. Then on the day before the attempted shooting of Tammy, October 8th, Alex had bought a new cell phone, a track phone. He activates it on October 9th, the day of the attempted shooting. And that day, there are 10 text messages between him and Chad Daybell that occur between 7:13 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., the time frame when the shooting occurred, the attempted shooting. The gun misfired, never went off. Thank God. Shit didn't kill her then. But then they had to finish the job 2 weeks later. And coincidentally, they tracked Alex's phone. It did ping in at Chad Daybell's property that night. Yeah. Okay. Then there was a text that they found from Melanie Gibb that was sent on the day that we think JJ Vallow was killed. And here is a video of what was in this text message. Now, let me just tell you that she was there with David Warwick. They were sleeping in JJ's room. It's thought that Lori had JJ in the room with her because he liked to sleep with her. We don't think Chad was there because, his wife's still alive. Tammy's still alive. So David has this bad dream, a vision that came to him in a dream. And here, take a listen.
We sent this to Chad about 2:00 this morning. David woke up with great pain and sorrow in his heart.
And keep going.
He felt something big was going to happen. He saw something with 2 slashes in the side of the mountain, and something about people, and his heart was very heavy, and sharp pain in his stomach and pain in his legs, and he started crying.
Okay, keep going.
He can't remember what was going on or what he saw. It was going to happen now or soon. Please call is when you can. Maybe you can help him understand it. Whatever it was, this is immediate. There was nothing he could do, and it was a horrible feeling. He can't get to these people, and there was nothing he could do for them.
Interesting stuff. Now, she went after he had that bad dream, knocked on Lori's door, no answer. The door is locked, no answer. So, did he really see something? I don't know. Interesting. All right. So John Pryor did not finish his cross-examination of this particular witness. So that will be done this morning, and then we'll probably see Detective Hermosillo on the stand. They've got to be wrapping this thing up. Please. For the love of God, wrap it up. You know why? Because I want to hear from the Daybell children. I want to hear what malarkey they're going to come up with, you know. No, my mom was sick. Dad, no, we love our dad, and he would never do this. And yeah. Anyway, have a great day. Today's Wednesday. I'll be live tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's Craft with Me Wednesday. I don't talk about crime. I talk about, I usually do some kind of crafting. Probably tonight I'm going to be watercolor painting. Yes, watercolor painting. I'm going to get the watercolors out. Take care, everybody. Bye.